we have on Mr. Pat Flynn. This episode is power-packed with tons of tactical insights and advice. We first talk about passive income and the revenue streams that Pat has been able to create and how you can actually create them yourself. We're going to be diving in. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model/actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee-yee. All right, Mr. Pat Flynn, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast, my brother. I am super excited to rock the mic with you.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to this one. I mean, you are a father, you're a husband, you're a serial entrepreneur, you're a podcaster, but most importantly, you are a happy hustler, and you are really an OG in the game and someone I really look to for inspiration and education. And I'm just really grateful to leverage your wisdom and share it with the happy hustlers and talk all things passive income and community building and entrepreneurship, and also like how you live a balanced life and how you haven't burnt out, because you know that's a big bonus for me, is like you've got the longevity thing going hot. But before we get into all that good stuff, Pat, what's something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
This has been a goal of mine that I'm about to get ready to embark on. You know, the kids are getting older. My son is 13. My daughter's 10, about to turn 11. And so when they leave the nest eventually, I'm going to be embarking on an adventure of writing fiction down the road. And, you know, there's been a lot of inspiration for me lately to start kind of making up worlds and making up characters. And I'm excited to dive into that in the near future. So, yeah, a lot of people don't know that. So get ready for it. I don't know what's going to come out of my brain, but it should be fun and a neat challenge to hopefully overcome.
Hey, that's pretty cool, man. What an awesome next chapter for you. Do you have any working titles?
No working titles. I have some ideas, very much, you know, post-apocalyptic stuff that kind of part of the genre is sort of what I'm looking at. But who knows? We'll see what inspires me at the time, but I will make time for it. I will make room for it. And who knows? It might end up becoming a Netflix special one day. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, there you go. That's actually one of my goals. I've been in the entertainment industry for many years, and one of my goals is to pull a Rocky, you know, write, direct, star, produce my own feature film series. So,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's happening. So, Pat, you built an entire brand on smart passive income, and like that is such an attractive goal for most. But truly, most passive income starts active, right? What are the different types of smart passive income that you have been able to leverage in your brand that you recommend others do?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, a lot of people hear passive income in my domain name and in my brand, and they go, oh, this is real estate. No, it's not real estate, although that is a form of passive income. It's not investing in the stock market, although that could potentially be that as well. And truthfully, there is no such thing as 100%, you know, set it and forget it passive income, unless you are who is it, Bobby Bonilla from the Mets, or you know, you've sort of starred in something like a Seinfeld episode a long time ago and you're still getting paid for that, right? What I'm talking about is creating businesses that, yes, do require a lot of activity and active sort of income up front, but in that process, shifting it from active to passive by means of software, automation, optimization, and or people or team, such that you can then get your time back. And that's an amazing thing, because you can create these things that can then continue to serve people again and again and not have to trade your time one for one for income. In the beginning, you're trading a lot of time for no income. In fact, you're creating, you're building an audience, whatever it might be. But eventually you reach that tipping point where now you're getting your time back, but this thing can scale and amplify using the internet and using those tools that you put behind it. And then you can move on to the next thing, or spend more time with your family, or whatever it is it might be. And I've since created several different kinds of passive income opportunities like that, from my first one, which was built in 2008, which was to help people pass an architectural exam. That website still exists. It still makes a few $1,000s a month at this point, even now, 15 years later, which is pretty amazing. I have physical products. I invented something called the Switch Pod with my videographer that is now for sale on Amazon, and that is mostly automated. There's still some customer service that needs to happen, but even in real estate, you still have to upkeep your property, or even in the stock market, you still have to keep track of your portfolio and manage those things and adjust and adapt over time. I have books. I have a YouTube channel, several. In fact, I have courses, a community with recurring membership payments. So a lot of these things are set up now so that I can not just make money now, but so I can get my time back and use it elsewhere.
Yeah, I love that. And that's really what the happy hustlers crave, is creative freedom, financial freedom and time freedom. That's what I crave. That's what I'm sure you crave, and really, you named a ton of different potential passive income streams. But I think the question that I'd like to really go a bit deeper on is, what is the order of operations when it comes to an early stage? Let's say, I know you transitioned from a 9-to-5 to the entrepreneur game, and you didn't start right away with like an affiliate thing or a membership thing, or maybe you did, but I'm wondering, like, that ascension model when it comes to those different revenue streams, starting at hey, I'm just getting into this game, all the way up to where you're at now, like the variety of revenue streams. Can you kind of list that order of operations by chance?
Yeah, it's interesting. This is very similar to a question I usually get from new students of mine who are like, what should I do first? Right? Should I create a blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel, build an audience, then build that email list, and then understand more about who's on my email list and the kind of people I'm attracting, what problems they have, and then create a product for them? Maybe, but there's many other ways to go about doing it. The best strategy that I like to share is called my 1-1-1 strategy right now. And this makes it very simple and easy, because before you even start creating anything, you need to know, who are you going to be creating for? And what are the problems that you're solving? That's going to be your number one goal. And the 1-1-1 strategy is find a single person, one person, find out one problem that they have, just one problem. They might have many, but pick one, and then create one solution for that problem for that one person. And there's so many things that happen when you take this very simple 1-1-1 approach, right? Number one, when you go and find that one person, already you're going through different exercises and experiments with, well, where do these people even exist? Who do I even want to help? How might I go and find them and talk to them, right? So you're already going to start learning about how to find and talk to and understand these people. Number two, when you have these conversations with people in a community, for example, whether it's in person or offline, online, doesn't matter. It might be in a community you're already a part of, or it might be in the community that you live in. Who knows? It might be friends of yours. It doesn't matter. But when you start talking to these people about their struggles and challenges, not only do you begin to understand, well, these are the potential problems I could solve, but you get a real life account of the stories that people have around them, because empathy is a key factor when it comes to succeeding in a business, especially today. And empathy meaning you know exactly what they're going through. You know what troubles they have. You know exactly their goals and why this is important to them. You understand the struggles, the real struggles that they've had, not some made up struggle that a person has had because you're doing an avatar exercise with, name of random person who has 2.5 kids and they live in this city and they're this age, right? And then you have to kind of make up stories for them, and then you can serve them. And that's an okay strategy. But what if you found a real life person and you can empathize with them and you hear them, you actually hear their voice when you're creating something, right? And that's very powerful. And then finally, when you get that person that result, when you finally solve that problem for them, number one, you're going to figure out how to solve that problem. You don't know how to do that yet, but you're going to figure it out. You're working with that one person. You understand what their roadblocks are. You understand what your roadblocks are. You're understanding how you like to teach versus just, again, picking a solution like, oh, I'm going to write a book and then doing it that way. You are working with the person to essentially come up with the perfect way that you can provide value to them. And the most important thing about this is when you get that person that result, it unlocks that thing in your brain that initially said, I don't know if this is going to work. I can't do this. I'm a nobody. That imposter syndrome. You now have the confidence that what it is that you're helping people with does actually work. You actually now have a real testimonial. And then what happens there is it sort of changes the story in your mind from, I don't know if I can do this, to I can do this. Now I got to go find other people like this person. And guess what? I know where those people exist. And I have a real case study that I can share with them because what I'm doing actually matters and is actually real. And this helps us, this 1-1-1 strategy gets us over a lot of those hurdles that we entrepreneurs, especially in the beginning, have to battle with.
Yeah, that's gold. I mean, the 1-1-1 strategy, you know, because people get like caught up in the, first of all, you know, the imposter syndrome. But second of all, like, where do I begin? And you just broke it down so elegantly. And I really want to just, again, highlight the social proof component that you mentioned. Like, once you have a case study, you can leverage that as social proof. And that is your best sales advocate, right? It's also potentially a referral source. And it's such a great way to build a business with word of mouth referrals of people who are actually getting results.
Right.
And I think so many people get caught up selling the features. Oh, my course has 17 modules and 60 hours of content. And it's like, no one cares. All they care about is the benefits that you can actually provide and how you're really going to, you know, get them a result. And I just think it's so important that people focus on, like what you said, finding one person, one problem, and getting them, you know, a real solution with results, man. That's gold right there. Jeez.
Can I add on to that? Because I love what you just said about like getting the result quickly for somebody and how the features are often where we start because that's what we know and we think that's what people want, but people want the end result. If you spoke to me back in 2010 about creating results for people, what people wanted back then is different than what people now want now. This is sort of the cool thing about my longevity here is I've seen the changes in what people have wanted. Back in the day, people wanted the information because that information was not available then. So if you had the information, that's when 60 hours of content, 5,000 pages of work, like, great, I don't know where else I can get this. I want it, I'll pay for it. It's different now. If you were to pitch something like that, that is actually the opposite of what people want because we don't have time and information is freely available pretty much anywhere nowadays. You can go and Google the answer, right? So what matters now is the quality of that info, and quality is not how much there is. It's how quickly can I get this result from this blog post, from this podcast episode, from this course, from this community, whatever it might be. If you had your tires flattened on the road, imagine somebody comes up to you to help change that tire and they say, you know what, I'm going to take 5 hours to do this. And here's a book about how I'm going to do it. And here is a video that you can watch about how I'm going to do this. Would that be valuable? Or would a person who says, hey, I'm going to come in and I'll have it out in 10 minutes, you'll be ready and back on the road. I don't care anything about your qualifications, your ebook or nothing. You're helping me get back on the road quickly. That's what I'll pay more for that person who's going to spend less time with me now. And that's what people value today, like you said. And what we were talking about earlier is time. So you as a creator, as an entrepreneur, how are you helping people save time? That becomes a big part of your pitch. It should be, at least, because that's what people want.
Oh, yeah. For sure, man. I mean, time is our most precious commodity. And especially in this like attention deficit disorder craze that we live in, like people, I feel like have less attention than ever before. And you have to hook them with them early. What's in it for me? Right. And it's like, get to the point and don't beat around the bush with all this other stuff that is irrelevant to the end result, right? It's like the vehicle doesn't matter as much as the end destination, I feel like, and many times. And obviously, you know, we want to get there in an ethical, safe, integrous way, but that's, you know, either, here nor there. But the point is, man, I just think, you know, you've been able to build so many different revenue streams with your business and been able to really help people get actual results. And that's like, you know, such an important piece to this puzzle. For you, what would you say has been the biggest mistake, either that you've made or your students have made, that you see consistently when it comes to building these quote unquote smart passive income streams?
In 2011, I had two buddies of mine. They each created WordPress plugins. So WordPress is a blogging platform, and there's
Yep,
a lot
yep.
of
I
free
use it.
plugins, but there's a lot of premium plugins that a lot of people create to do something on the blogging platform. And I had two friends. They didn't know each other. They just happened to create different plugins around the same time, and they each launched to their audience. And their audiences were half the size of mine, and they each made over six figures in about a week during their launches. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my gosh, like, congratulations. This is incredible. Look at how many people are taking advantage of this offer and they're paying for these plugins. Like, well done. And I was like, you know what? I think I could do this too. So immediately I went to Google to find a developer. I found a developer, and a project that I had in my mind, just it was in the back of my head. I was like, I think I want to do this. So I hired this person, and what was supposed to take 6 weeks and about $6,000 to do took 6 months and over $15,000 because I was not very
Yikes.
clear. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I jumped into it so quickly because I was chasing the dollars. And every time I've jumped into a project where I was
Uh,
chasing the dollars first, I've lost every single time. And the same thing happens with my students. And many of you listening or watching, perhaps the same thing has happened to you. When you chase the service that you could provide for somebody, when you chase the problems and understanding who it is this is for and what it is that they need, then the money comes as a byproduct of that. I always say your earnings are a byproduct of how well you serve your audience. So I made a ton of mistakes back then. Just not even really creating for anybody other than myself to make money. And so what I should have done was everything I've laid out in my book, Will It Fly, which was the research process up front of who is this for? What am I even creating? What are the problems that people using WordPress even have? I didn't even start there. I started with, money. And that kind of was a big expensive lesson that I'm thankful that I have, because I can now pass that forward, and now it still feels a little bit worth it at this point. But the research and the understanding of who it is that you're serving and what it is that they need is really important. And if I had, here was the worst part about this whole process. After I finally had a plugin that I was like sort of happy with, I was keeping it secret the whole time, by the way, which is another mistake. I think a lot of people worry, yes, like, oh, somebody might steal my idea, but there are so many better things. There's so much more benefit by sharing these ideas and what you're creating up front while you're doing it, because then people can poke holes in it before the holes are even exist, right? And so the worst part about this was I finally had this plugin that I was somewhat happy with that I was going to release, and I shared it with my buddies and a few of my audience members, and they were like, oh, what if it did this instead? Or that's not really a problem I have, but this is a problem I have. And all these things that I wish I knew ahead of time showed up then. And I
yeah.
didn't have a budget for it anymore. So I just scrapped the project and didn't release it. So yeah, talking to people up
Ah.
front can really help a lot.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's a great lesson. And hopefully none of the, happy hustlers out there have to learn it on their own, because, doing proper market research and actually identifying a need and getting feedback throughout the process of building it
Mm-hmm.
and custom tailoring it to the needs, you would think it's like, intuitive, but a lot of people don't do it. I know I like made a similar mistake where I went all in on building this course, and I was like, it's gonna absolutely crush it. I spent so much time and money building it, and then when I launched it, it was crickets, and it wasn't what they wanted because I didn't actually get real feedback and like lean on the perspective of the prospect. And I think that
Right.
is huge. Great wisdom shared, man. And you know, I also I think it's important to have like a community of people that you can bounce ideas off of, that like a mastermind, like being a part of a group that can help steer you of like-minded, high performing peers. What's your take on masterminds? I know you've been involved in them, you've run them, you host
Mm-hmm.
events, you're big in that world, but when it comes to masterminds, I do think people are reluctant almost even still to really invest in themselves. What would you say to people who are on the fence when it comes to investing in masterminds?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the apprehension. Even just that term has been so overused now, and it sounds almost cultish in a way. So,
True.
we try to stay away from it. But imagine instead of saying, oh, do you want to be a part of a mastermind? You say, oh, do you want to be a part of a group of people who each support each other, hold each other accountable, are brutally honest with each other when needed because you yourself can't see anything because you're so much inside the bottle that you need somebody else to read the label for you? Oh, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And honestly, it's been
Yeah.
the most beneficial thing that I've ever done for my business was connect with other people in a formal manner in this way. I am in two mastermind groups,
Yep.
one that meets Monday mornings and another that meets Wednesday mornings. I've been in each of them for over a decade. We have been together for that long that we know each other
Wow.
more than sometimes we know ourselves. And I've received brutally honest feedback when I needed it the most. I've received incredible direction when it comes to when I've been lost with certain things. Everything is uh, down to like the name of my book, Will It Fly, which came from another group member, to just direction in life. So big things too.
Mm.
In fact, we talk about life just as much as we talk about business. And I think that's important because those two things should not necessarily be separated, especially when it comes to holistically how
Yeah.
you want to be happy and how you're hustling in your life. Um, and then I have made some of the best friends that I've ever had in this manner. And like one of my mastermind group members, if I needed them, they would fly over to help me out. Like they would just come to San Diego, drop what they're doing if obviously they could, and fly over. And I would do the same for them. And that's the kind of people that you want to connect with. Now, you need to find the right people, and the best way to find the right people is to connect with people in person to see who you vibe with. And you're not going to necessarily say that you're comfortable with them watching your kids after the first week, but over time you meet these people and they become a part of your lives in a way that you can't even imagine, and it's absolutely vital. When you think about FDR back in the day, he had his brain trust to help him when he was in his presidency. King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. I mean, all of these amazing things that have
Yep.
happened in history have had people who are not at necessarily the head of the table. That's why it's a round table. Everybody's at the head. Everybody has a voice. Everybody's there to support each other, and everybody can see each other. So that metaphor plays true, especially now today. And I think it's needed now more than ever. With you were alluding to just how crazy things are now and the noise that we all are a part of in the online space. It's nice to just have a regular group that you can meet with that you trust and who trust you. It's vital. I
Mm.
would say if you don't have one, you are absolutely not where you could be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sage words again, man. I mean, that I look at like that as a catalyst for my quote unquote success. And I think everyone needs to define what success looks like for them truly. But that that is where the magic happens for me,
Mm.
is where I get the best feedback and also new input and ideas and enlightenment, both personally and professionally. And yeah, I really think everyone out there, just I urge you to find your tribe and
Mm.
really like spend the time cultivating it and treat it with the utmost importance. When it comes to tribe and building community, like you're a master at this, man. You have built, I know you just built like a massive community in the Pokemon space, just as like almost like a case study.
Yeah.
It's hundreds of thousands of people in your, in your community of on Pokemon now. And it's like, it's so cool to watch you do it in other verticals and niches. What's your advice when it comes to building community as like, the action steps first, to I guess last. I
Yeah.
mean, when it comes to building like a solid culture and community.
When I was a kid, I was very short, right? And so I was like the shortest kid in my class. And I had a lot of tall friends, and they were friends. So they invited me to play basketball with them, like on the basketball court during lunch or after school. But even though I was on the court with them, I was never past the ball. I was always picked last. I mean, for obvious
Mm.
reasons. And so as a result of that, I never really felt like I was playing basketball with them. I was on the court, but I wasn't really playing, and I never really felt like I belonged.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming. But I have to tell you, the best investment you can make in yourself is one in which helps you acquires skills. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, just invest in yourself and you'll be successful. Yes, that's true to a degree, but you have to invest in skills that will ultimately help you achieve your desired results. And I think one of the best skills one can possess, be it an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, is the sales sword. Really knowing how to sell, utilizing pressure free persuasion, which will make you more money and more impact. Now, if you want to know how to sell more efficiently and effectively, I just launched a sales course called The Proven Roadmap Process to Selling Millions of Dollars and Helping You to Increase Your Conversions Guaranteed. And you can get access to this new sales course that The Happy Hustle is launching at thehappyhustle.com/sales. And if you act fast, you'll get it at the lowest price it'll ever be available, because we are launching it and we want to gain amazing testimonials and social proof to further share this knowledge. So if you act fast, you can get it at the lowest price it'll ever be. That's at thehappyhustle.com/sales. Now let's get back to this episode.
A lot of us creators, we invite our audience to the basketball court, but we don't make them really feel like they belong. We don't pass them the ball. We don't give them an opportunity to shoot. And my recommendation would be to do just that. Give them the involvement in what it is that you're doing. And it doesn't have to be like they're sitting next to you as you're building your business. Just getting them involved, everything from something more asynchronous, like showing them stuff that's happening behind the scenes in some videos and letting them in on some of the work that you're doing and the progress, and being vulnerable a little bit sometimes and opening up to them, all the way to, yes, indeed, in fact, influencing where the business goes and what happens. I mean, when a person is involved, they will invest. They will invest their time and potentially invest their money as well. When people are involved, they will invest. And the sort of second part of this, when it comes to community, is a community is not just people talking to you and you talking to them. It's them talking to each other. So creating a safe space for people who have common interests, who have common values, who have common goals, to come together, to feel safe, to be vulnerable, and you got to lead by example. But when you lead by example in these communities, people will follow along and then find each other. And this is when the magic happens. This is when people now have an identity as being a part of your community, much like how Swiftie follows Taylor Swift, or a Belieber follows Justin Bieber. A person can be a part of Fire Nation and follow John Lee Dumas, right? And you can have your own tribe and community in that sort of way as well. And the cool thing is those people show up for each other, and together they show up for you. And this helps you grow your brand. It can become the place to validate new business ideas and get honest feedback. And when you do that, you have future-proofed your brand, because no matter where your brand goes, as long as you have their interest in mind, you're always upfront and honest with them, your brand can go wherever you want. And as long as people know that they feel like they're a part of something, I mean, that's really what people want. That, like, as connected as social media has brought all of us together today, it's almost made us feel disconnected and like we can't find other people like ourselves. So when you, the creator, can bring together those people and become the connector between all of them, that does nothing but heighten your brand. And you mentioned my Pokemon space earlier. I started a Pokemon channel 2 years ago, and it's now approaching 1 million subscribers on YouTube. We held an event last year, or actually this year, June 2023, in Anaheim, California, a live event. We had 2,500 people from around the world come to Anaheim, California to nerd out on Pokemon together. And it was an incredible experience. That's how much people crave these things. And the cool thing is, it's like, okay, like, maybe people get bullied for liking Pokemon, especially at an older age or whatever. But like, everybody knew that was not going to happen here, because we were all speaking the same language. We're all nerding out. We are the weird ones coming together, and everybody who's not there then becomes the weird one. And so that was the whole thing. When you bring these people together who share common interests, it does nothing but heighten your brand. And sometimes all people want is just to feel like they belong and feel like they are allowed to say something and be welcomed for it. So I think we all have that opportunity. I feel like we're at this point now almost where if your business is not bringing your community together in a way like that, and perhaps it's more formalized on a place like Circle, or maybe it's in a Slack channel, or in my community, my paying members in my Pokemon space, there are over 4,000 people paying $2.99 a month to be a part of my Discord channel and to get some special perks and access to merch on my YouTube channel. That's, again, started from scratch 2 years ago. Nobody knew me about Pokemon. I brought the community together, and now there's $12,000 coming in monthly recurring from people paying $2.99, like a Patreon on YouTube. and and everybody loves it and wants to invite more people in. That's the cool thing about community too. When people feel like they're a part of something, they're going to bring other people with them, and they become your marketing team without you even having to ask. So I'm very passionate about community right now. So
yeah, man. Well, for good reason. I mean, geez, like I feel like this is your next book, by the way. If you haven't dove deep, obviously the fiction book, but I would love to see a book on, really going deep into the nuts and bolts of community. And, I know you talk about that in Superfans and other books
yeah.
as well, but it's just one of those things that, like, now more than ever, we're connected, like you said, on social media, but disconnected in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the involvement of AI, it's only going to become more artificial, truly. And these connections aren't going to take place as frequently as I believe they should, and I think as you believe they should. And really, that is a huge opportunity for all the happy hustlers out there listening. Like, this is a huge opportunity. And I've even heard you say, if you don't have community a part of your brand, you're going to get left behind. And I believe you. When I agree with you on that point wholeheartedly. That's why we have the Happy Hustle Club. And I know you have your communities. When it comes to AI, I'm curious, like, your take and really, like, how are you infusing it into your business currently?
Yeah, so I see it as like a calculator. It's a tool. It's not going to give me all the answers. I still have to input things that matter, but what it can give me can get me that result much faster. So I use it as a tool. I use it as a way to help me brainstorm, to amplify my brainstorming, and to like give me more options to choose from, and really inspire ideas. I'm never really copy pasting from answers from ChatGPT, for example, but I am using answers to help me explore more parts of my brain that maybe I didn't even know needed to be explored. And then I can kind of come up with different things and then, put my own voice into it as well. So AI, I think, is great. I think it's wonderful. But I think when we attempt to use AI to replace things that should still remain human, that's where it becomes a problem. And people are now that ChatGPT's been out for however long, people are noticing, even though it's coming from ChatGPT and it's quote unquote original, people can still get a feel that, oh yeah, this came from ChatGPT. It didn't really come from a human. Like, people still are perceptive and are able to sort of see through that. And the one thing ChatGPT and these AI tools are never going to offer is the human experience and the human to human connection, right? That will never ever be replaced by AI. It will make the human connection that much more important. And so again, if you are not including those human connections, and you are one human who can connect with several online, but imagine that you create an opportunity for your community to all connect with each other. How many human to human interactions are now happening? I mean, it's exponentially bigger. And this will help you stand out from all the sort of one-sided brands that are now happening, or that will be once AI comes and sort of levels the playing field for a lot of those things. And so, whenever you can take things one step further when it comes to an interaction that you have with your audience or a particular subscriber or customer, that's when things start to get noticed really, really greatly now, because everything else is kind of automated, right? That one additional, oh man, you took that time to think about that for me. If you can get a person to think about that, then it's golden, right? It's the difference between like if you have a spouse and you go to bed every night with them and you say, "Good night, honey, I love you." Like every single night at 9:30 p.m. or 10:30 p.m., whenever you go to bed, you say that same thing every single night. "Good night, honey, I love you. Good night, honey, I love you." Every single night. I mean, it doesn't become less meaningful, but it kind of does, because it's just expected, and it's just what you say, right? It's almost automated at that point. But imagine you go to her office at 3:48 p.m. on a random Tuesday. It's not an anniversary or birthday or nothing. You just go over and surprise her and, "Hey, honey, here's a slice of cake I picked up at the store. I was just thinking of you. Here it is." I mean, that gets remembered. That becomes the different thing that stands out. And then you have all the other people in the office going, "Man, I wish my husband did that." You know what I'm saying? So how can you create those special moments of surprise like that for your audience? That's when you're going to stand out. And what often people say when I share that method, and I do talk about that in my book, Superfans, they go, "Well, how do I scale that?" Stop trying to scale everything. Not everything has to be scalable or automated. Like, this is the problem. we're thinking about how to
Yep.
remove ourselves from it. No, how do we put more of ourselves into it is what should be the
Yep.
question.
Yeah. Love it, man. I mean, doing things differently, like different is better than better, they say. I don't know who
Yeah.
said that. Maybe
Sally
Sally
Hogshead.
Hogshead, I
Hmm.
think. Yeah. But it's so true. Like you, especially now more than ever, like you have to just really give that personal touch. And by the way, it might not scale, guys. So it's okay. Like focus on your people and really serve them. Something I'm really inclined to ask you. I talk about the more disease, like this craving for more money, more followers, more clients, more stuff. It's like it runs rampant in this grind culture that is quite present.
Hmm.
And I've heard you talk about the creator middle class, where it's like there's a group of creators that are just like happy to have a nice lifestyle business and really just be with their family and go to the kids' soccer games and be present. I'm curious for you, how have you, because you seem to have rid yourself of the more disease. Now, obviously, like we all love accolades and increase in impact, right?
Hmm.
But how have you cured yourself of the more disease and how do you recommend others?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this comes from it's just human nature to hoard things, right? Like a lot of people compare it to, like, remember back in the caveman days? I'm like, no, I don't remember. But they say, if like
Yeah.
if you came across like a bush with like berries, it's like you might not come across that bush with berries ever again. So let's like remove
Yeah.
them all and just hoard
Yeah.
it and take it. And right. And now we're at this buffet of information, yet we're still treating it like every dish is the last dish we'll ever see.
Mm,
So then we're just bloated now, right? Like metaphorically, we're bloated with content and information and all these things, and of course, a part of that is also how much we are on social media and see other people's highlight reels, and we compare our lives to them. It's like, oh, I want what they have, and so we want more, and we strive for more. And I get it, but I'm very inspired by people like Paul Jarvis, who's the author of Company of One, who has sort of not settled. That's not the right word because it makes it seem like, oh, well, I want more, but I'll settle for this. It's more, I've opted out of trying to get more things because I'm opting into appreciating the things I have. And and
mm,
and, and the idea that security, which is what we all want, doesn't come from hoarding more things. It comes from going deeper with the things that we do have, especially when it comes to audience building and those kinds of things, right? So instead of, oh, I need more audience members, right? I need to triple, I need to quadruple, I need to 10x my audience size. What if I 10x'd the relationship I had with the audience that I already have? That, in my opinion, would
mm.
be even more secure because you're building these relationships. People are getting to know you. They're going to stick with you. And that's what I would rather focus on nowadays. And so when people tell me or talk to me about the hustle, I always try to reframe it from, how are you hustling on the relationships that you're building, that you already have, that you've already
Yep.
made that connection with, right? So what, a person has 1 million subscribers, like, can they name them? Probably not. But I can name a couple hundred people in my audience right now who are going through things because they're a part of my community and they've been open with me and I've been open with them and I have conversations with them, and because I'm going deep with them, and they're going to stick with me, right? And these 1 million other subscribers, they might come and go because they've got the information they need and just might leave. So for me, I want
Mm,
to go deeper, and I crave more depth than anything with my relationships that I
yep.
have. This is not just my audience. This is with my wife. This is with my kids. I crave more depth with them.
Yep.
That's what I want more of, not more quantity. I want more quality. So trying to recommend
Mm.
to shift everybody's mind from more of those things that we normally want to more of these things.
Yeah, man. Wow. Powerful. Depth versus breadth, and really like going a mile deep with your people and just serving right now. And just also just being grateful like for what you have and what you don't have too. Like if you don't have a incurable disease, like be grateful. I love to lean on the attitude of gratitude in my my perspective is just to persevere with positivity and really truly be grateful. Even when I almost died last year from carbon monoxide poisoning, crazy enough. And I was like, literally almost died. And it was like, now I'm so much even more grateful. I know people talk about like near life death, you know, death experiences, and it changes them. And it is true. Like I really truly do have more gratitude. And I was a grateful guy prior too. So, but now I'm even at a different level. So I just think people shouldn't waste a moment. Like, be so grateful, go deeper than ever before. And even today, just go deeper with your people who are in your community and your inner circle and your family and the people that you love, man. That's powerful. Yeah. Pat, this has been phenomenal. And I know people are like, geez, Pat is a legend. He's got a lot of great insights. Where can people go to get more of like what you got going on? I mean, I know there's a ton of different, places, but where would you really drive people to?
Yeah, I think the one and only place I would recommend, and again, thank you, Carrie, for having me on and just allowing me to discuss these things. I'm very passionate about this, and I'm happy to help inspire others. My Unstuck newsletter. So this is a newsletter I write every single week. It's like a 5-minute read. I tell a quick little story and help you get unstuck with wherever you might be. So smartpassiveincome.com/unstuck. And that's it. That would be the one place. And you can get more of my personality, and, eventually you can see the things that we have to offer there, but that's not what that newsletter is for. The newsletter is to help you with wherever you're at and help you get to the next level. So smartpassiveincome.com/unstuck.
Yeah, and we'll link that up in the show notes.
Thanks,
but
man.
yeah, I definitely recommend, joining that and just getting more of your wisdom, following you online, listen to your podcast as well. There's a ton of great resources that you provide. I do want to just put you through a couple of my more traditional questions and then the rapid fire round, then we'll wrap this up.
Sure.
We'll go quick, but happy hustle hacks I'd like to ask are in a couple different disciplines. First being health. I know health is a priority for you.